And so ends the week-long Republican National Convention with a speech by former President Donald Trump, his wife Melania, and members of his family joining him on stage. You may have noticed the young man, Barron. A lot of love between the family, a lot of recognizing his family tonight after a tough week for the former president. He promised to bring down prices, create growth and jobs. Energy independence is important, he said, to close our borders and to be fierce with dealing with foreign nations. Dan Housley has been there all week long. He is there under the balloon somewhere. Dan, the former president said he would rip up his speech after the attempt on his life. Did you feel like he had a different tone or demeanor? What was your take?
Well, there was definitely a different tone and demeanor. It was subdued. And he talked a lot about unity and a lot about bringing people together, but there was still a lot of the stump speech issues of political prosecutions, of crime, immigration, and other issues. But he did definitely talk about it in a very subdued tone. The speech was supposed to last about an hour. It went maybe an hour and a half because, as he usually does, he goes in and out of the speech itself and then kind of vamps on his own issues. But that is Trump. So it was a more subdued tone, but still Trump underneath all that. And now his ticket is set. J.D. Vance was sitting next to Melania in the box there. The two will now have their first joint appearance on Saturday in Michigan. Of course, a battleground state that is so important to the campaign, along with Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. One of the reasons he brought Vance on, hoping for some strength in that state. So Trump says he's changed, but the mission is the same. In his words, make America great again. He's still pushing that, and that is his motto. Kim?
Dan, thank you. And we'll have more analysis and highlights from the RNC ahead. Our coverage on a late edition of 7 News at 11 coming right up.
Now at 11, former President Trump accepting the Republican presidential nomination just days after the assassination attempt.
I'm not supposed to be here tonight because I had God on my side. I felt that.
We're live in Milwaukee with the latest on the race for the White House.
Then President Biden under pressure. The commander-in-chief facing growing calls to step aside from high-ranking Democrats.
Lower humidity moving in just in time for your weekend.
Also, are jurors in jeopardy? Why the judge in the Karen Reed murder case ordered their names to remain private.
Plus, a commute crawl for Red Line riders in the fall. Why the T hopes a service shutdown will speed up track work.
And remembering the king of deadpan comedy. A look back at Bob Newhart's legendary career.
7 News at 11 starts now. First at 11. Former President Trump taking the stage.
Tonight, with faith and devotion, I proudly accept your nomination for President of the United States.
Speaking for the first time since the assassination attempt, the Republican presidential nominee calling for unity.
The discord and division in our society must be healed.
We have night team coverage in the race for the White House.
And back live to the convention in Milwaukee that has just wrapped up. Former President Donald Trump has officially become the Republican presidential nominee for a third time. The former president urging Americans to come together after he survived an assassination attempt last Saturday. And it comes as President Biden is facing more calls to withdraw from the 2024 race. Former President Barack Obama reportedly expressing concerns about the president's ability to win. And several top Democrats are now urging the president to step aside.
As Democrats seem to be in disarray, the Republican Party is pushing a more unified message. From the Biden administration is pushing about staying in the race to former President Trump's historic speech. We have night team coverage beginning with Dan Housley live once again in Milwaukee tonight. Dan?
Well, Adam and Kim, President Trump formally accepting the nomination for president tonight as the Republicans wrap up. I think everybody would agree a very successful 4-day convention. Former President Trump delivering an hour-and-a-half speech. It was supposed to be an hour. It definitely went on longer because he was more subdued, sometimes rambling, but a personal message that included some details in his mind of what he went through in an attack just a few days ago.
Former President Donald Trump took to the stage
and immediately recounted the attempt on his life just days before.
I heard a loud whizzing sound and felt something hit me.
On stage with Trump was the firefighter's coat and helmet of Corey Comparatore, the rally-goer killed in the attack. Trump describing, he said, for the first and last time, how close he came to death.
There was blood pouring everywhere, and yet, in a certain way, I felt very safe because I had God on my side. I felt that. The amazing thing is that prior to the shot, if I had not moved my head at that very last instant, the assassin's bullet would have perfectly hit its mark, and I would not be here tonight. We would not be together. Once my clenched fist went up, and it was high into the air, you've all seen that, the crowd realized I was okay and roared with pride for our country like no crowd I have ever heard before.
Trump says the attempt on his life made him rip up his original speech and replace it tonight with a message of unity.
As Americans, we are bound together by a single fate and a shared destiny. We rise together or we fall apart. I am running to be president for all of America, not half of America, because there is no victory in winning for half of America.
But Trump had plenty of criticism of the Biden administration's record on issues like crime, immigration, and the economy.
So tonight, I make this pledge to the great people of America. I will end the devastating inflation crisis immediately, bring down interest rates, and lower the cost of energy. We will drill, baby, drill.
In the end, though, Trump insisted the events of last week convince him that Americans must not fight, but unite.
We must instead take that energy and use it to realize our country's true potential and write our own thrilling chapter of the American story. We can do it together. We will unite. We are going to come together, and success will bring us together.
It was a family affair with rare appearances by Trump's wife Melania, his daughter Ivanka, along with his other adult children and about a dozen grandchildren as well. Next to him was his running mate, J.D. Vance, and his wife, Usha. Now, Trump and Vance take it on the road, their first rally together in Michigan, a big battleground state, over the weekend as the ticket on the other side is in serious jeopardy. We're live as the Republican National Convention wraps up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Dan Housley, 7 News 19.
Thanks, Dan, for everything. Stay with the news station for the latest on the Republican National Convention. Dan Housley will continue his live reports tomorrow on 7 News Today in New England.
Following some breaking news here at home, a Boston police officer hit by a car in Jamaica Plain. Investigators say the officer then shot the driver near the Forest Hills T station. Both were rushed to the hospital. Let's go outside to 7's Lisa Greshey. She is live in Jamaica Plain with the latest details for us now. Lisa.
Kim, this investigation, as you can see behind me, still very much underway at this hour. The police officer is in the hospital as well as the suspect. Witnesses describing these chaotic moments.
And all of a sudden you hear like between 3, 4, 5 shots, bang, 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 and then I was like, oh my God, there's literally a shootout happening across the street at Forest Hills T station.
An officer-involved shooting following what police say started with the officer approaching a stolen vehicle. A smashed windshield, a key part of the evidence.
Suspect in the motor vehicle operating it struck the officer. One of the officers, the officer struck, discharged his weapon, striking the operator of the motor vehicle, the suspect operator.
Officials say the suspect hit the officer with the car, and the officer shot the suspect. Both were rushed to the hospital where the officer is in serious but stable condition, the suspect suffering life-threatening injuries.
I've never seen so many police officers respond so quickly in my life. I think it was just one after the other. I think 20 cop cars, ambulances, people running in every single direction.
Evidence markers placed from the parking lot to the streets surrounding the Forest Hills station.
It's just, it's unsettling, to say the least.
As we do in each and every circumstance, we always have to rely on our community in that respect. And that's why we always ask our community if they have seen something or know something or heard something to please say something and assist us in the investigation.
And back here live, you can see this scene is completely blocked off still, to the point officers are asking people who live here for their IDs for them to cross this crime scene tape. And as the DA said, if you have any information at all, call police right away. Reporting live in Jamaica Plain tonight, Lisa Greshey, 7 News Night Team.
In the race for the White House, as the Republican Party came together at the convention tonight, the Democratic Party remains divided. President Biden is facing growing calls to drop out of the 2024 race. Former President Barack Obama reportedly expressing concerns. The Night Team's Kiki Venzel live in the newsroom with more. Kiki.
Adam, we're learning a second Democratic senator is now calling for the president to leave the race. Tonight, Senator Jon Tester of Montana said the president should step aside. But earlier today, the president's campaign team said he has no plans to bow out.
The president is in this race. He is going to, and we look forward to him accepting the delegates in Chicago.
President Biden's campaign team making it clear he's staying in the race as Vice President Kamala Harris hits the campaign trail.
Good afternoon, North Carolina.
Harris pushing the Biden agenda as reports circulate of an increasing number of prominent Democrats urging the president to step aside. Senate Leader Chuck Schumer and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi are both reported to have privately urged the president to leave the race. After serving together in the White House, former President Barack Obama has also reportedly expressed concerns to Democrats about Biden's candidacy. At this pivotal moment, the commander-in-chief finds himself alone battling COVID-19.
The president is feeling fine. He is self-isolating in Delaware. He's continuing to make calls and do work. He has some official meetings today, a lot of campaign calls that he's getting through. I think some Zoom calls that he's hopping on potentially.
Which puts Harris in the position of making the case for the president. Now, some Republicans wonder if she could replace Biden on the ticket.
If the powers that be in the Democrat Party can convince him to move off, it's going to be a very different race here in just a month, and it's going to be a nail-biter.
The Biden campaign doubling down on his plans to stay in the race and downplaying speculation concerning Harris's chances of running for president in 2024.
The vice president is a part of the Biden-Harris ticket. Our campaign is not working through any scenarios where President Biden is not the top of the ticket.
And there are more reports. Some of the biggest names in President Biden's party may call for him to step aside. There's fear if he stays in the race, he could not only risk the White House, but other Democratic seats in November. Live in the newsroom, Kiki Venzel, 7 News Night Team.
On to your night team weather, and I think you're going to like it. A cooler and comfortable end to the week. Finally, the humidity has moved out. Let's go to meteorologist Josh Worcester to get details on that forecast. I think we like this one.
Yeah, I think you will too. This is the comfortable part of it. Dew points have really fallen off. They kind of slowly inch their way down through the day today. Started off tropical in the 70s, 60s this afternoon, 50s out there now. 50s are comfortable, and that's where we stay through the overnight tonight and through the next couple of days. That also allows temperatures to cool off pretty good during the overnight. 60s for most of us. Boston, of course, warmer, 76. Plymouth, 74. But you go to Bedford and Norwood, Worcester, you're down into the 60s. Some of us may even dip down into the 50s overnight tonight. So maybe you choose the windows, give the AC a rest. That has been working in overtime really this entire month. It's clear, comfy tonight. Temperature somewhere around 60 degrees for a lot of us. Just a nice gentle north wind, 3 to 8 miles an hour. Then tomorrow we get the sunshine back. It is a beautiful day, full on sunshine, blue skies. Humidity stays nice and low. Our temperatures, though, stay pretty warm. We head back to the middle 80s for a lot of us. 70s on the Cape, just a very light west wind with, again, a lot of sunshine. Weekend forecast also looking pretty good. We'll have those details coming up.
To the latest on the Karen Read case, the judge keeping the list of jurors' names from the mistrial private. It comes after one of the jurors raised safety concerns. The Night Team's Victoria Price reports.
An unnamed juror in the Karen Read murder trial, claiming that they would fear for their safety if the jury list was released. Judge Beverly Canonia agreeing with that juror, ordering an indefinite impoundment of the names. The motion from the anonymous juror's attorneys makes several arguments for why the names should remain undisclosed. They point to the high-profile nature of the Karen Read case both locally and nationally, and cite the large and opinionated groups of Read supporters and opponents who lined up outside the courthouse every day. The attorneys write that should the jury's names be made public, they are likely to become targets of harassment, abuse, doxing, and potentially violence. The motion also highlights the afternoon the mistrial was declared as an example for why releasing names could put jurors in jeopardy. It states that after the jury was dismissed, members were driven by bus back to what was supposed to be a secret location, but appeared they were followed. The motion goes on to say the unnamed juror was so much in fear on their way home from jury service that they pulled over to the side of the road to make sure they were not being followed. Karen Reed was on trial in connection to the death of her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe. The case ended in a mistrial earlier this month after the jury could not agree to a verdict. Prosecutors claim that Reed intentionally hit O'Keefe with her car outside a Canton home and left him to die in a snowbank. Reed's defense team maintained that she was being framed by police.
Now, the judge's order does not prevent other members of the jury from publicly identifying themselves and even speaking out about their experience serving on this jury if they choose to do so. The next hearing in this case is set for Monday, which is when we could learn of a new trial date for Karen Reed. In Dedham, Victoria Price, 7 News, Night Team.
Also from the night team, a wind turbine blade gone with the wind off the coast of Nantucket. Another piece of an already broken turbine falling right into the ocean. Officials are still investigating what caused the blade to break. The night team, Samantha York, joins us in the newsroom with more on that.
That's right. More debris from the turbine could start washing ashore as soon as Friday, but officials say they are better prepared to respond now.
It's concerning. The community is upset.
A large part of an already broken wind turbine blade falling into the ocean near Nantucket this morning. It was a concern raised during a Nantucket Select Board meeting last night.
While the blade remains attached to the turbine, we believe there is an increased possibility it could detach soon.
The offshore turbine has been at the center of attention on the island this week after an unspecified incident on Saturday caused one of its blades to break, sending debris into the water. The town of Nantucket says it was not notified of the incident until 5 o'clock Monday afternoon, citing issues with Vineyard Wind's emergency communication plans.
That was a phone call, a voicemail that was not picked up in Barnstable until 9 a.m. Monday morning.
By Tuesday, fiberglass shards were washing up on Nantucket's South Shore. The beaches were closed during an extensive cleanup effort. Those beaches reopened yesterday, but Vineyard Wind, the company that operates the wind farm, says there were signs that what was left of the blade was failing and could collapse, which is exactly what happened this morning.
It's not surprising because we knew from the beginning that there was substantial amount of the blade remaining.
In a statement, Vineyard Wind says, "We have deployed additional crews to Nantucket Island in anticipation that more debris could wash ashore tonight and tomorrow as we continue to monitor additional coastal communities."
Our environment matters to us. Our safety matters to us.
Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey says the state is working to make sure the mess is cleaned up.
The state is down there right now working with local officials and addressing the debris and the cleanup and removal. We're closely monitoring the situation. We're in touch with Vineyard Wind. We're getting regular updates, and I'm going to do everything I can to be on top of this.
But those who live on the island are demanding answers.
None of these turbines should be allowed to turn a blade, and no more construction should happen until they figure out exactly what happened with this blade.
We're told the communication between Vineyard Wind and the town of Nantucket has been improved since that first incident. The town is advising residents to keep an eye out for daily community updates. Live in the newsroom, I'm Samantha York, 7 News 19.
Major disruptions are on the way for people who take the Red Line. The MBTA announcing that a big part of it will be shut down for 24 days in September. Crews will make repairs to 18 miles of track. This means there will be no Red Line trains going through North Quincy, Wollaston, Quincy Center, Quincy Adams, and Braintree. Once the work is completed, the T says it'll shorten rides up to nearly half an hour for commuters, but some riders are still frustrated by yet another T shutdown.
Line to work and be fast again, so they're shutting it down to fix it. Whatever, cool. Just hope it gets fixed.
It's been a very, very difficult situation going forward with this. I'm not too hopeful, to be honest.
The shutdown will start September 6th and go until the 29th.
Still ahead from the night team, remembering a comedy king. A look back at Bob Newhart's career.
Comfortable air now sliding in, taking over for the next couple of days. It's setting up just a beautiful weekend. We'll talk more about it in your full forecast next.